Phone's at a weird angle. Could have stabbed the boat. Could have stabbed the boat. British mate. Hello. No one's here yet. If you're wondering, this is the second live. This time I got my wireless microphone hooked up. Hopefully it's working well. I'm recovering from a defibrillator replacement surgery, so can't do any forging for maybe until the end of this month. Maybe mid-July I'll be able to start to, because I'm a right-handed person, but I hold my tongs with the left, and this does strain that muscle. So probably at the 5-minute mark I'll sorry, I'm tired. I did a double the other day. I'll do need more iced coffee, mate. Little knife ASMR. No one in yet, but it's good. I gotta finish this for a friend. Oh, I got some people here. If you guys in the chat can hear me well, can you just let me know? I got my lavalier mic hooked up. I just want to make sure that you guys can actually hear me instead of it just people that are just joining. How's the quality? I got the little puff thing that looks like some dude's haircut. Like, you know dudes that have that kind of haircut. Like, all right. You call me loud and clear because I'm part Italian. I'm fucking Italian. Yeah, I'm gonna move the thing. So now we got some people. I'm Dan. Started bladesmithing and blacksmithing like 4 years ago. Still a newbie. Like, I'm getting better with stuff, but this is a railed spike knife that I got to finish. But if you guys are interested in learning how to start beginner blacksmithing and bladesmithing, this stream I'm going to give you a lot of good advice. We're going to have a little pond side chat. It's nice weather out. It's finally cooled off. So, no, I got to make sure I didn't mute the thing. All right. It's not perfectly straight. And I'm not just talking about my sexuality. I'm fuck with you. I do got to finish it. This was from not a normal railed spike knife. This one was like an extra long one. I got to finish this for a friend. I'm a back procrastinator. Now this one I didn't forge, but this one, I also didn't make the sheath in this one. I found a guy local to make it. But this is a kind of a funky, so knife making and bladesmithing. So bladesmithing this was a railed spike. You heat it up, you forge it to shape, you smush it out. Think of like if you got clay or Play-Doh. And yeah, this chair that I'm sitting on, I'm surprised it's lasted this long. My dad saw it. We like free shit. But this thing is like a gaudy, like, I'll show you the chair. It's when it was not weathered, it was rather nice. I want to eventually see if I could like remake it, but yeah, this thing's like when it was in like peak condition, it was like the king or queen's chair. But and yeah, I'm Dan. People have actually called me David on accident, and I got ADD, so if you don't understand what the hell I'm saying, I'm sorry. But bladesmithing, think of rolling pastry dough, except you do it while hot. you're changing the shape. So you take it from like a piece of square bar and you're forging it to this shape, versus this knife and this knife that's a work in progress. You, just like if you were like in art school or like in school when you do art, you trace a template and then you take your scissors and you cut the outline. You're doing the same thing here. You get your steel. I'm going to do a video soon on the best place to buy blade steel. Yes, you can use old leaf springs and other free stuff, but it really, one of my favorite judges that was a temporary judge on Forged and Fire, he Jason Knight. If you ever go check out his channel, and also if you ever have the extra dough, like he's got like different tiers for Patreon. I went there, I learned a lot of stuff. You know, I'm not able to go to his Tennessee or North Carolina shop and get in-person lessons, but his Patreon was well worth it. And but he had a video on like beginner steel and other stuff. Like, yeah, you can get free stuff. Like the first chunk of carbon steel I tried hammering on, it was a piece of leaf spring, and it was like 3 inches thick and like almost half an inch thick. And I had my crappy trash can forge, which I'll do a video on that. I don't really fish. The only kind of fishing I like to do is, I haven't fished since my mom passed 4 years ago. She loved fishing. I love going like ocean water fishing hooks. I will try to see if I can make fishing hooks. It depends on the size, because I don't have like the ability to. It wouldn't be worth it for the time, and like, because that's the biggest thing. Whenever you buy something that's handmade, like whether it's forged or, you know, someone cut, grind, heat treat, and, you know, does all the sanding and all that stuff, it's never about materials. Like, materials do add to the cost. Like, you know, no beginner bladesmith or maker should be using freaking, you know, mammoth ivory. That stuff you can buy because it's, you know, thousands of years old and you're not doing whatever. I could try doing it. Like, if you want like bigger ones, like for like deep sea fishing, I could try doing a video on that, because a while back I was trying to make like a spoon carving gouge, and the file I used, you can use files, they can be good for making knives or other stuff, but you have to test the material. But the tang that I cut off, I was like, hey, this looks like a sewing needle. So I tried my best. I had to use pliers in the gas forge because I don't have tongs that are small enough, but I was able to make like it was still a fairly big sewing needle. Like, it'd only be good for like saddle making and stuff, but I could try making that. If you check my, if you leave a comment on my other video that I just posted on how to make a forge burner, I can do that. Or if you check in my profile, I should have my link tree. I am up for a challenge. Like, it's going to be a bit until I'm able to like forge stuff, because I'm healing from my surgery. But I am up for a challenge. One of the reasons why I fell in love with bladesmithing and blacksmithing and trying to learn this stuff, because I grew up watching Mythbusters. I originally tried to go to school for engineering because, like, oh, I want to be a Mythbuster, but I'm not good with math. I'm good with 3D stuff. Like, I can picture stuff, like, you know, before this gets to this shape, I can picture how I'm going to smush or grind or do whatever to get it to the shape. So, like, everyone has things that they're good at. But I am up for the challenge, especially because, so I am going to be doing a video on where to get where to get blade steel for making knives or spoon gouges or other stuff. Everything that is made. So I'm a science nerd, even though I sucked at the math. I couldn't stick with the engineering or biology. Once we got to organic chemistry, that was not chemistry. Like, the concepts of stuff, of how things go together and stuff, that was great. But once we got to, like, you got to like measure like the do some weird trigonometry and algebra stuff with like, the electron clouds of like chemical bonds. And you got to figure out like what angle. That was during COVID, and my chemistry teacher, even if I was able to learn in person, she was like the cookie cutter of that system. I did not fit in that cookie cutter. Oh, Persian. Yeah, I actually, you stay around. I have a knife that I haven't finished, but you'll love. I got a drawer, so whenever you start bladesmithing or blacksmithing, even if you get pissed at yourself because the knife is ugly, or you feel like I'm just gonna stop here instead of trying to forge more because you feel like you're gonna mess up, don't throw it out. Save it. I actually have a drawer of like all my knives, like out of like maybe I've only sold a handful of knives. I literally just finished university, like just before this new year, so I haven't been able to do a lot. But out of like the 5 knives I sold, I probably had like 20 knives that I learned from, that I failed or whatever. Like I don't know Iran, like I do know some of the history, like one of the, like a lot of the Middle East has some of the coolest curved blades, which I am gonna, if you give me like a minute, I'm actually gonna go to my shop. I'm gonna leave you guys here for a little bit, for like a minute, but yeah, a lot of the curved blades from there, and like the steel, so like the steel chemistry is really cool because different parts of the world in the old days, everyone had similar but slightly different ways of making steel. And so I'll be right back. You'll probably still, if this microphone is doing what it says, I should be able to talk to you guys while I walk to the shop, which is like 100 feet away. So this mic should hopefully still be working. But I actually have a blade that I gotta finish. So I had a buddy that's gonna buy it, but he wasn't able to buy it, so I just kind of forgot about it. But I in person would make when they're like almost shit their pants. Oh nein! Oh my Lederhosen, I shit in my pants. Anyone that's coming into the live right now is to be like, what the fuck's going on? Why don't we just have like a sentient pawn talking about a German Swedish person shitting their pants? My friends, you will get to know me. I am all of the brain damage. All right, so I have no clue how much of that you guys heard. It'll be a test, but I gotta redo this and do some hand sanding. But yeah, Iran and all the Middle East, they have very beautiful. This was a challenge because I had to do this grind freehand. I gotta bring this up. So it's got a double grind. It's not double edged because I was selling it I was gonna sell it to a friend, and where I live you can't sell it. But this is gonna have. I am gonna finish this up because like I was really proud with how centered I was able to get. If you're wondering what some of the gray crap is, it's just tape because I had to tape this to hold it, but I am gonna redo this. But yeah, the Persian style of knives, especially the ones that aren't too curved, like this is like a very nice curve where like if you had to use it as like a battle dagger, you got the slashing, but it's not too much of a curved point where you wouldn't be able to like, poke someone. But yeah, if you guys want to know, I can't tell. You got one person here. Who's the person here that's still here? Is it Arvin Timuri or Aaron? Sorry, I will know. Sorry, I'm working on pronunciation of names. All right, we got no one in chat, so this is my only Persian style lathe that I've made on purpose, because when you first start forging, you try hammering the bevel, but if you don't hit the spine, equal and opposite reaction. As you're smushing this out, the material goes this way and the blade curves up. I forged this blade to have the curve. I actually forged on both sides, so when I actually grind this, I have less grinding. And that's the thing with when you get into beginner bladesmithing and blacksmithing, especially with bladesmithing. Oh, that's a beautiful, wait, chat, I'm turning around. Come on, turn around. We got a little red squirrel. These are native to New England. The gray squirrels are actually invasive from England themselves. So the red squirrels, it's nice seeing a native. Yeah, you can tell I got ADHD because I got distracted, but it's a very beautiful squirrel. And the way I was able to tell it's a squirrel and not like a big freaking, a chipmunk with a long tail is it was just red, a little bit of different color, but a very white belly, and it's that tail. Damn, it's cute. But so with beginner bladesmithing, so knife making is stock removal. You cut the knife out of the shape of steel, you grind it, you heat treat it. You don't heat it up and change the shape. But with bladesmithing, like this used to be a railroad spike. This, you wouldn't be able to do stock removal to get this. You have to physically change the physical state and shape of something. So whenever you heat up steel, once you get it glowing, you could do planishing. That's when you just do gentle tapping on steel when it's like between like 1,000 and like 1,200 degrees. Bug on me. But that's the thing with the knife, the 1,000-degree knife viral bullshit was a knife that's glowing like orange or yellow is not 1,000 degrees. 1,000-degree knife would look just like this, except with the background you'd be able to see like the heat off of it. So those, I'm going to do a video on how that was technically not true, because like a real 1,000-degree knife would just barely be different than this. But when you start blacksmithing and bladesmithing, before you start either, now if you're gonna get specifically into knife making because you watched Forge and Fire like I did, my grandmother, the first good knife that wasn't like a turd with a handle, I made for my grandmother, but I wasn't too proud of it, so she used it a couple times, but then I kind of like hid it from her. Also, she's on blood thinner, so I was like, it was sharp though, so I was happy with that. It very much looked like a prison shank. It looked like something from Resident Evil or like Silent Hill, like one of the crazy people would have. Like, it had like, I'll do a video on keeping your old failures, which nothing's a failure. Like, you learn from messing up. I mean, that's how, a master bladesmith, master blacksmith, master craftsman, the best soccer players, the best American football players, you're going to mess up. And that's one of the things where saving your mistakes, like this knife I'm gonna finish, I just never got to it because I got distracted with other stuff, and the guy who was gonna buy this from me, he wasn't able to buy it, and you know, life got in the way. That happens. That's why for you beginner guys that fell in love with Forge of Fire and want to make knives, I recommend you start with blacksmithing, because there's not a lot of technique and skill with the basic forging of knives. You know, I used to be, oh, we got 2 red squirrels. That's good. That makes me very happy. Unless they're just baby squirrels, but yeah, I got ADHD. But with blacksmithing, you have so many different techniques and so many skills that you might not realize that when you do in bladesmithing that you might need some of that. But also, not everyone wants a knife. Like, you know, different parts of America, I feel really bad for you guys in the UK, because like you got all the knife restrictions because, you know, humans, if we can't use projectile weapons that we have a lot here in America, we use the next best thing. And you guys, you know, there's a lot of really good craftsmen and women that in UK and other European. And is that squirrel getting high off a mushroom? I'm going to turn the camera on. Yes, I'm talking about bladesmithing stuff, but we got red squirrels. There was mushrooms growing over there. So I think little bro's going to get zooted later. But yeah, got some wildlife. I don't know if I think these are red squirrels, but they could also just be baby gray squirrels. I really hope that they are red squirrels, because in New England, red squirrels are native, but the gray squirrels, the ones where if you've ever seen like a video where like you see one coming out of like a fast food restaurant's like dumpster and it's like a Big Mac squirrel, those are the gray squirrels. They're invasive. Kind of like how like the Asian carp is invasive in like Australia and America and stuff. But sorry, get back to the blacksmithing and bladesmithing. So before you spend any money on equipment or turning your coal grill into a coal forge or whatever, if you can get in-person lessons, that will help you go from a decision to start blacksmithing and bladesmithing, and then depending on how it goes and how much you like it, to a commitment. So anyone can say, oh, I'm going to do this, and then you try it, it's like, I don't like it. Because any hobby that you eventually could make into a business, or just any hobbies in general, you don't start off like when you get your first car. You don't start off with if you're a normal person that isn't uber rich, you don't start off with like a Lamborghini or, you know, 1,000 horsepower car. You start with something that bugs that you can use. Sorry, the squirrel that was eating the shrooms. I don't know. This will be interesting, because I don't know if that mushroom, like, that would probably kill a human, but animals are weird. But you don't want to start off with a Rolls Royce when you're just starting, you know. So if you get lessons, so technical high schools, the ones where people go to learn welding, auto, other stuff, they usually have night classes. So like if you want to learn machining, I'm going to save up and actually go to those, because I do have a small jeweler's lathe, but I want to learn from the pros, people that been doing this. I want to learn that. So, but sometimes they will have blacksmithing. So like I live in central Massachusetts. So Bay Path, they actually have beginner knife making classes and blacksmithing. You could take either. I recommend the blacksmithing first because just say you want to start forging knives to sell to coworkers or friends or whatever, especially if you live down south, because it's a more respected thing and like people actually want them because they will actually use them and carry them. I recommend learning the blacksmithing skills first because there's not a lot of technique. Like it's just forging a taper, moving material, and then like this is just a twist. But if you learn beginner blacksmithing, you can learn how to punch through steel, hot punching. You can learn scrolling, which is how you get like nice curved hooks and stuff. And the more skills you have, treat life like a video game because we get one life. Every skill you learn adds up. So I used to do traditional bow making. Like I didn't get like master level. Like I literally lived in an apartment that had a walk-in attic that I turned into a small archery range, and I had my S-wing hatchet, and then I had a draw knife, carpenter's clamp, and then I had like a farrier's rasp and some files. And I would take like a 2-inch or 3-inch diameter tree, dry it, and then use the S-wing and chop and go from 3-inch stick to an even 1/2-inch stick. But the hand-eye coordination that I gained from spending hours beating my wood, chopping through wood, because if you cut too hard and at too steep of an angle, you'll split the wood and then you'll ruin a perfectly good piece of wood. But I had those skills, so when I got lucky that my old scoutmaster, he actually teaches beginner blacksmithing and bladesmithing classes at Baypath. He invited me one summer, like back in 2019, just before all the lockdowns and stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure. And like he noticed right away because he's a good teacher. He's like, okay, you have the hand-eye coordination. Like the first thing I forged was like a letter opener, but it was like bent like a potato chip and had hammer marks, and I still have it. But I was like, this is cool. Like I did get burned a little bit because that's the nature of the beast. Like any form of metalworking, there's always hazards. Anything to do with fire, you're always going to risk it burned. Like same thing, cooking. You're always going to possibly get burned from water, oil, fire, hot surfaces. Same thing with blacksmithing and knife making. But that was really cool because I did watch Forged in Fire, but I was like, in the back of my mind, it's like I live in an apartment. I don't have any way to do this. But when I moved here with my dad and grandmother after my mom passed, around the time my mom passed, we were stuck during lockdown and we were just binge watching Forged in Fire, which I'm still pissed because they should have. I don't know if they do the reruns anymore on History Channel, but I think because they like went to Netflix and they assumed that like, oh, most people are gonna be on Netflix and all that stuff. I know most people, like I was born in 2000, so like literally most of the kids, people my age, we don't really watch cable TV that much anymore. We go on YouTube or whatever streaming service. But I wish Forged in Fire kept the reruns because I just lost interest after like, I don't know if it was 2022 or 2023, but they stopped doing the reruns because they were like trying to do different weird stuff. But my grandmother let me start blacksmithing, and I started off with a hand pump, and then I literally just used a fire pit and a random chunk of steel and some pliers, and I banged out a rebar knife that looked really freaking ugly, but it's like, hey, I made that, and that was cool. And then I wanted to have better heat control or more heat, and we looked up the basics on how to make a coal forge, and then we made the trash can coal forge, which I'm gonna do a little video on, showing you guys that you literally don't need much to start, but you have to do it safely. So like we've had some rain here and there, but only you can prevent forest fires. Only you can prevent burning down your neighborhood and your house. Because the thing with coal, especially charcoal, when it's green, which means it's not heated up and burning, it pops. Like I got so many burns from the embers that just pop, and those can go on your grass, or they can go in a, you know, a brush pile that you didn't realize was too close, and then that could start fires. So this is all about learn the proper stuff so you can be safe. Because there's like one guy in New York that like burned down like an apartment building because he tried coal forging and like did not know the proper safety procedure or didn't plan ahead, and you don't want to do that. But you really want to oh, we might have a duck. Nice landing. Yeah, it's not behind me, it's a different angle. But if you get lessons, whether it's from a technical high school or college, it has adult classes, or from a well-known blacksmith and they do lessons, I recommend it. You know, you spend 300 or 500 bucks for, you know, a couple of weekends. So like the Bay Path, they have the beginner bladesmithing and blacksmithing classes. I don't know if they're still open. I'll do a video on that probably tomorrow. But they it's like 4 or 5 weekends, and it's like 300 something bucks. It's like, yeah, it's like just above 300. But the thing is, you have an instructor that has experience, you have the proper location so it's safe, and then you also have the proper tools. So that way you're able to be in a controlled environment. So anything that does go wrong, you are protected, but you will also learn. And, you know, I'm very grateful that Mr. O'Coin, I'll shout out Ryan O'Coin, that he gave me that one free lesson at his own personal shop, because that was a little ember. That's the thing, like you get a little ember, that little spark, and you know, it might smolder for a while because life and conditions are not right. But then when you have the opportunity and you take that opportunity, that's when you're able to grow that flame and that desire to be able to do what you want to do. But it's really nice being able to learn from someone that knows what they're doing in a controlled environment with proper tools. And it's invaluable because that'll let you know, like, okay, this is cool, but it's not for me. People don't like the heat or the risk of burns, or, you know, not everyone's meant for metalworking, just like how not everyone's meant to do painting or crocheting or other stuff. It's like, if you don't do blacksmithing or bladesmithing, great, learn something, make something. Because knowing how to make your own stuff, whether it's cooking or gardening or have some form of hobby that, you know, you could eventually try to make into a business. I'm failing right now, but I will be working on making more of these and trying to sell stuff on my Etsy. I do have some stuff on my Etsy, so if you guys want to check my link tree, just go on my main YouTube page. It should be linked there. But just knowing how to make stuff, you know, you really get stress and anxiety, because I almost died when I was 17 from a heart thing. That's why I'm healing from my new defibrillator surgery, because I got a new one after almost a decade. And blacksmithing and bladesmithing helped me get through my mother's death, because when you forge, you don't forge angry. Like, you don't slam your hammer because you'll break stuff, but you're able to take all that bottled up energy, that all anger or sadness or regret and all that stuff. And when you make something, whether it's blacksmithing or bladesmithing, or you're making painting, drawing, writing, you know, anything that you make, you're able to take that bad negative energy that's all bottled up and it's building up pressure, and then you're able to transform it into something more positive. Okay, like after my mom passed, I had some days where I literally felt nothing. That's why this channel is DG Undead Forge, because besides me surviving something that I should have died, when I lost my mom to suicide, part of me died. You know, that, you know, so like, I can feel happiness, but there's always just that like piece of you that's just piece of your soul that's missing when you lose a family member, a loved one, a friend to suicide. And it so if you guys ever want to talk about that, what I'm doing in my lives, I can give advice on that, because even though I'm 25, between my heart thing happening when I was 17, completely changed the trajectory of my life. You know, I was going to do military or tons of different things that I could have done, but because I had the heart thing, I couldn't do it. And then during the lockdown of 21, losing my mother to suicide, that also was like another just big life kick in the nuts. And so if you guys ever want to talk about that, I am going to try to live stream as I can, not just to grow the channel, but also I'm trying to get better with talking on the camera. But I can help you guys with that. But making stuff, having a hobby, taking negative energy and turning it into something positive, even if it's a turd, like some of the knives or some of the stuff that I made, I'm like, I thought this was going to turn out better, but it still works. It's something that you had in your head and in your heart, and you were able to materialize it. Not exactly how you saw, because you're still learning the skills. Like, I'm going to be doing a video showing my old knives that were work in progresses, or ones that I just like completely, it's like, no, this is a turd. Like, I can't polish this turd. I know people do that with that weird Japanese turd polishing thing, but it really helps your mind, body, and soul to have some form of way to get rid of anxiety, anger, grief, all that stuff that bottles up. So blacksmithing, bladesmithing, it did help me. It did help save my life in a way. And also making things, you know, I'm trying to get back into learning how to crochet, because I want to make my own hats, because I want to, like, there's like a couple of local farms nearby that have like alpaca fur, or they have alpacas, and their wool is very similar to sheep, but like I think it's lighter, but like does the same thing. Like it's warm, and I want to make that for like wintertime stuff. But having an outlet to make something, to express creativity, especially if you got high anxiety. I've always had anxiety my whole life. I used to be a chunky, big, friendly giant that people would never physically bully, because I was always outweighed them and stuff, but I was like a big, friendly giant. I was just big old softy. But people still made fun of me and all this stuff. The squirrel's back for the shroom that I don't know if it's gonna make them high or not. No, I'm just looking at a squirrel over there that's just like, he likes it, or she, I don't know what it is, but so yeah, I'm gonna try to do more of these lives. I'm still gonna be here. I don't know who's probably got like no people here. Oh, we just got a person. Hey, whoever just joined, can you let me know if you can still hear me? I got my wireless microphone. Just want to make sure it's still running. I gotta check a message real quick. Oh, there you go. Sorry for oh, there you go. Sorry for that. I had to check a message from my friend. But yeah, whoever finds this live, whether it's in the recorded VOD. All right, this girl's distracting me, so I gotta show you. Flipping the camera. I'm gonna flip the camera. Oh, Look at that little fucker. I don't know if he's going to get high off those shrooms or if those shrooms are good protein. So next to that plant, I tried planting some squash over there. Squash, not squash. But there's like those weird yellow mushrooms that pop out. I don't know. It might be what the squirrel's eating, but back to knife making. Sorry about getting all emotional about trying to get the tripod set up. So I got a little table. Oh no, our table, it's broken. It's a glass table, that's why I said that. And I just dropped the beer bottle. It's okay, it's non-alcoholic. I can drive into a tree. No. But so back on topic. So learning in person with a professional blacksmith and getting lessons will let you go from making the decision to try blacksmithing to the commitment. So even though it might be a couple $100 for a couple weekends worth of classes, the materials are paid for, the fuel's paid for, the space, the safety, the security, all that is worth it. And that'll let you know if you like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Still try to make stuff, learn crocheting, sewing, woodworking. There's tons of other crafting hobbies that you might be able to turn into a business. But if you do like the blacksmithing and you want to make the commitment to be able to do it at home, you have to do it safely. So the pros and cons of doing a homemade charcoal forge. Most people start off with a charcoal forge because literally, some people on Forge of Fire literally just had like a satellite and a blower, an old dish satellite, and they had some charcoal or coal. Charcoal you can get at Home Depot or Aubuchon's or any like local hardware place. It's the lump charcoal. Don't ever use the briquettes because the briquettes are very compressed. They're just like junk coal, like junk charcoal that they compress and they impregnate with like some form of lighter fluid or other stuff. That does not work for doing a homemade charcoal forge. It's just not porous enough. It's kind of like the difference between like trying to think of it. It's kind of like the difference between like powdered sugar and like a compressed hard candy. So like think of like the hell is it? The sweet tarts. That's like a compressed sugar with sour stuff in it, but that was like powdered sugar that they compressed and it made a hard thing. That thing is harder to dissolve than fluffy powdered sugar. Same thing with the charcoal briquette. It is too dense and it doesn't have any air. It doesn't have any pockets for airflow. When you have lump charcoal that people use, like Google Foods, like when he makes his steaks, he uses lump charcoal. Because wood is hollow, that's why most normal woods are able to float. Think of wood as like a bundle of straws. Even when it gets turned to charcoal, those air holes, those gaps still exist. So when it catches on fire, it has a lot of airflow. That's why I recommend, if you want to watch a cool documentary on traditional Japanese sword making, you can just look it up on YouTube, and it'll kind of be like an older, like late 90s, early 2000s, like video quality. Like it's not like a potato, like old like YouTube videos. Like it was filmed with like a professional film camera for the time, but they did use a power hammer but they used the proper tamahagane, like the actual black sand smelted steel that they turn, they smelt it down in the big chimney, and then they, forge that big ball and condense it, and then they break off different pieces that are, some pieces are more like mild steel or wrought iron, some are more like high carbon steel, some are medium carbon steel, because the way that the Japanese would make their swords in the old days when they made steel, it was not nowhere close to consistent. That's why they would have to do the cutting and folding, cut, fold, forge, weld, and they'd have to do that like 100 times. And remember, every time you cut and fold a piece of steel, it doubles, so it goes from 2, 4, 8, 16. So trying to get to 1,000,000 layers, it doesn't take forever. With modern steel, you don't have to. Modern proper blade steel that you can buy from Pop's Knife Supply, New Jersey Steel Baron, Alpha Knife Supply, other places, you don't have to. 1,000,000 layers Damascus with modern steel, it can be like, hey, this is a cool thing, but you're gonna need, like, if you're gonna make like a 1-pound knife, you're gonna need like 10 pounds of steel, because when you heat up steel, the reason why this is all gray is you're gonna get forge scale. So that's just high heat rust. So you see like this little bit of red there, that's just rust on the scale. So the scale, forge scale itself, I think the reason why it's gray or blackish is it's from chemistry. I think it's like iron oxide, like FeO2, or it has like a certain amount of oxygen to it. But then when it has more oxygen, it changes. But when you heat up steel, it rusts at a high heat because chemical reactions. That's why, like, if you have, just say your fridge dies and then your food rots because it's hot. Heat speeds up any and all chemical reactions. That's why, like, with forging steel or whatever, it has some form of rusting reaction. Especially with gas forges, because one of the cons of gas forges is there's actually a lot of chemical water. So if you ever have like cold steel, or if you got like a propane blowtorch, just put like a chunk of like a decent sized chunk of steel in the freezer. Don't let it get like frozen, but get it like, if you have like a little thermometer or something. I got to review an infrared thermal gun that I got that's been helping me with getting better with the heat treating. But you want to let that get to like 40, 50 degrees. You don't want it frosted. Take it out, and then take your blowtorch and you start heating it up, and it'll start sweating. It's not sweating, it's actually propane and methane too. Any combustion reaction creates water. That's why, like, you'll see mufflers in traffic, like water will drip out. That's just anytime something burns, there's a chemical reaction. It turns the carbon into it breaks down the carbon stuff into carbon monoxide, dioxide, and like H2O and heat, and some other byproducts depending on what burns. But it'll actually, you'll before it starts getting hot enough to steam off that water, it'll actually start condensing. Or if if you do have like an anvil that's like fairly cool, you're like, why is it sweating? It's because the propane actually has chemical water that is condensing on the actual cold steel. But that extra water in a propane forge, even if you run it leaner, like you have more oxygen than you have propane, it'll still cause way more scale buildup than with like charcoal or a coal forge, because you have like charcoal and coal, like they're very pure carbon for the most part. Like coal has to go from coal to coke, not the snorting coke, but the coal coke. Why they call it coke, I don't know. Maybe because it turns white a little bit, and people in the 1800s maybe did that. Original recipe Coca-Cola. But charcoal and coal forges, because they don't really have any extra stuff to burn in it, they have very minimal water, so you have less scale form on your parts. So like the pros of coal is you don't have less scale, especially when you're forge welding something or really heating up something. But it's easier to burn / melt the steel. My old coal forge, I was talking to someone for like 30 seconds too long before pulling the piece out, and like half the blade is gone. And it doesn't quite like, unless you have like a really big fire pot that's like really going, it's not really gonna like melt the steel. Some of the things I've seen is when the blade burns, it gets so hot that especially in coal forges, but it can also still happen in a gas forge if it gets too hot. The hotter the steel gets, it's kind of like with sugar or Laffy Taffy or like whatever. It gets softer, it gets more porous, it wants to absorb more stuff, and because it's in the presence of carbon gas, pure iron wants to absorb carbon and other elements and stuff. It's not like a chemical reaction, but like think of it like a sponge. So like as it heats up, it opens up and it wants to have more stuff attached to it. And the reason why you'll have a knife burn / melt is as this carbon starts heating up, the superheated carbon that's gasified is permeating the metal. And the reason why cast iron, you can melt it at like 1200 degrees or 1300 degrees, well below like certain knife steel heat treating temperatures, is it changes the melting temperature. So if you look up like flux for solder, metal solder for electronics or for soldering plumbing pipe, when you add certain alloys, it does weird stuff. It lowers the melting point. So when you have more carbon in something, it actually lowers the melting point. That's why it's easier to forge weld like 1080 or 80 CRV2 to 15 and 20. Like you can forge weld it at like 1800 Fahrenheit, or but then like if you have like wrought iron and you're trying to forge weld wrought iron or even just pure mild steel, you have to get it way hotter because it actually has now when you forge weld, it doesn't quite melt. There's actually a really cool channel I recommend watching because it's like a bunch of different smiths in the UK. It's a Blade Show UK. They had a metallurgist who's been in the industry for a long time. Like he went to the school, he knows the math and the science about the metallurgy and like the understanding of stuff. When you're heating up steel or iron and it's heating up, think of like rock candy or salt. It's the hotter it gets, the individual crystals, because everything that's solid is made out of crystals, it actually heats up and it starts growing crystals into each other. But then you have to gently hammer it so then it grabs and does that. Don't say anything racist, I'm not alive.
You would have to say that.
Sorry, my friend.
I'm not racist, I just...
Hey, I will stab you with my dick. No. I am wearing a wire. Well, it's wireless. I guess you're the one that just got on live.
No, I have not.
No. I'm going to stab my friend in the neck. Yeah, dude, you just had to look in the box more. Those charges were there.
I could not find them for the life of me. Dude, why don't I get notifications that you're live?
Did you hit the bell? Oh yeah, if you guys do subscribe, make sure to hit the bell notification because that lets you know when I go live or post a video. It is kind of stupid that they don't let you, like, it doesn't automatically do that. But I did a live earlier, but I didn't have the good microphone on. But I got like I gotta tilt this over. I got like, I had like 3 people subscribe, which is nice. But at least with these lives, like they'll take forever to download. I'm gonna like, there's like some like websites where you can like take like your VODs or other clips, and then it helps you make a bunch of clips. And I'm gonna just like put those on YouTube Shorts and TikTok and stuff. But I was upset because like I got a notification from TikTok like, oh, you can like go TikTok live, and it's like, oh, click this link, and it says copy this link, and I copy the link and I put it in the thing, and it's the same thing. Like, so what? I'm not eligible or whatever. It's like, because you have to download the TikTok live thing, but yeah, I was supposed to go to CPR training, but my boss said like, yeah, just. I talked with the guy that was going to train us, like, you know, you got to still heal up. So when I'm healed up, he'll recert me. Like my certification, I think is still good, but.
Dude, I had to turn off my notifications. My phone was getting blown up. Today's a relaxing day. I grabbed a whole bunch of scrap metal.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Gonna remember I can't really lift anything, so.
You wanted to do the scrap metal.
Yeah, we could do some scrapping tomorrow. We got some crap around here that I gotta go through.
At my truck, there's a lot of stuff, and I have a whole bunch more stuff at my aunt's farm.
Ooh, do I get to visit the horses? But who's that gay guy? Aiden Watrova? No, it's just my friend. He's off camera.
Yeah, I just got you now.
Watch me stab my friend live, huh? How much will $20 get from my friend? I'm not gonna be afraid of being stupid, because like that's the shit that gets you like, hey, this person has personality and brain damage. Yes, I do. I was only dropped once on my head by my father. He admitted it. I did the others myself because I like the brain damage. Oh, on your phone, can you tell if my microphone's still working fine? So the there's a delay with the live from my phone to my friend, so it's like. Wait, no, bring it up. Keep it there. Oh. There's a delay with the live from my phone to my friend, so
it's a big delay, dude.
Well, yeah, I don't have the best internet. I'm eventually gonna try to get one of those, like, dude, especially when dude, this summer we are gonna build that floating workshop. Like, I'm gonna figure out like personal loans or whatever, because that would be cool as shit. Especially if I could stream on Twitch, not just YouTube, but on Twitch. Because like, obviously I'll be able to forge then, but.
Not gonna lie, out there, the data is so good. If you were going down during the ice.
I'm eventually gonna try to get one of those, like. Yeah, it's annoying, but yeah, I would.
Just trying to get it to like perfect.
Like what I would do with the raft.
Yeah.
The anvil, I would have like a wooden post, or maybe like, you know, a metal post that, you know, I wouldn't forge directly in like the middle of the pond. Like I would see if I could. Like I'm not gonna be forging big stuff. Am I talking to me? My friend's watching the live on his phone. But I would have it so that the anvil post. So if like I'm near that little island or the other island, or like near like the, you know, even if it's just over here, it would be long enough where that post could actually go and like touch the bedrock. So that way, If I had to do heavy forging, I could. But like, I'm not gonna be doing like, I'm not gonna have a power hammer on the forge. Like, that might be in the future when we try to do like the Mr. Beast kind of like, can we build like a real life raft like the video game? It's non-alcoholic because I really wanted to have a beer, but I need to make sure that this thing heals properly because I want to get back to forging. And
So how hard can I stab this right through you? Open heart surgery.
my friend's turning British. He wants to stab me.
Boy,
Oi, mate. I got a license for stabbing.
I was gonna get another tattoo on this arm.
Just don't get it on your hands. Like when you get a job somewhere, like at least that you can have, like they make those like sleeve things. And yes, people are prejudiced to that stuff, even though they're legally not supposed to.
I'm working at that castle place.
Oh, really?
Start Friday. Yeah, I got plenty of the money coming in.
Yeah, all your fucking butthole stuff on OnlyFans. No, fuck with you.
So the hashtag
No.
is at Aiden. I'm just kidding.
Remember, but
I was gonna say my OnlyFans, but if you won't let me promote, then I could have you in a video.
how far can we launch a Red Bull from my ass? Thunk, thunk, thunk. And I can't thunk.
No, I just do weightlifting. No, I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, don't. But all right. I've been streaming for an hour and I've had very little people show up. But that's fine. I got plenty of clips. I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you guys.